My daughter's really into water polo. We live in California. She's very big into water polo. It's a sport I knew almost nothing about. But, man, I've become the biggest water polo fan because of my kid.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Life of Dad Show. Here in the Life of Dad Show, we talk with athletes, actors, entrepreneurs, CEOs, musicians, entertainers who've all made a name for themselves, but the one thing that is most important to them is being a dad. On this week's episode of the Life of Dad Show, I'm talking with author Jeff Pearlman. We talk about fatherhood, his latest book, and a lot of other great things. Jeff is an interesting guy, and I think you guys are going to like his take on fatherhood. So let's get into it. Here's my interview with Jeff Pearlman. Enjoy. Hey everybody, Eddy here for the Life of Dad Show and online. I'm very happy to have Jeff Pearlman. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me, Jeff. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, man. I know you probably get this a lot, too. With different books that you've written, you kind of get like, hey, one of my friends told me about this book, and I started reading, and it was great, and then all of a sudden they kind of dive into your collection. For me, it was the Dallas Cowboys book that you wrote, because one of my friends like, dude, you have to read all the craziness that went on with the 90s Cowboys. So I got to ask you, man, of course you have your fans and people buy your book, but you kind of have people find you through their friends, like, you know, hey, you got to check out this guy's work.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, the truth of the matter is for me at least, writing books, like you kind of live in a cave. You write the books, you work on the books, you're in your little coffee shop or wherever, and then you come out for a couple of weeks to promote it, and then you go right back in the cave. So of all the things I think about, I mean, it's not one of those things I think about that much. I really just kind of hyper-focus on whatever project I'm working on.
Gotcha. And the one that you just finished recently was Football for a Buck, the crazy rise and crazier demise of the USFL, and like, you know, the cover-ups and the ups and downs of the USFL. And we as football fans, we definitely remember that. You know, for me, kind of growing up, I remember not only having the, you know, NFL Topps trading cards, but I remember my family being from Buffalo, and of course, when Jim Kelly went from USFL to the NFL, you kind of found out some backstory, and of course, Steve Young played in there. Talk a little bit about that book. Of course, we know, I think now more than ever, it's like, you know, Trump, that was, you know, he did something with the USFL, he was part of that. But talk a little bit about this book, and do you think that the USFL would be successful if it started up today, or, you know, we saw the Alliance kind of have an issue with their football federation, and they just filed for bankruptcy and they're gone?
I just think nowadays the problem nowadays is the NFL is so huge. It's so powerful. It controls everything. It's a year-round enterprise. The NFL back in the 80s used to be, it's just a seasonal thing. In the fall, you watch football. And nowadays it's the draft, it's free agency, it's the combine, it's fantasy. I just don't think a league like the USFL could come along now and have any chance of competing head-to-head against the NFL. It would get killed.
Yeah, man, totally agree. I mentioned about the Cowboys book and all the stories that came out, and you know, the one that stood out to me was like the Michael Irvin, the barbershop incident with the scissors. When you're researching this book, and you know, obviously creating this book and writing it up, and you know, doing all the fact checking and all that. Besides maybe that story, was there other stories you were just like, is this true? I mean, is it fact? Is it fiction? Is it a little bit of both? Like, was this like, because of all the craziness that happened in that franchise, was this like the most like hard book to like fact check and make sure everything was like legit from what you were hearing?
Well, the problem is, like, how do you, the Michael Irvin stabbing a teammate was never written about, not in any sort of depth.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a whole thing about Charles Haley masturbating in team meetings. That was never written about. That's not something you can just look and read a Dallas Morning News, you know, article with the headline, Haley masturbates in meetings. So it was really just verifying it with as many teammates as possible, and to a certain degree, trusting your sources. You know, when you're writing about stuff that's never been reported, the best thing you can do, the only thing you can do really, especially when it was 10, 15, 20 years ago, is trust the sources who are helping you.
Nice. And one of the other books you wrote about Walter Payton. Big fan of running backs in the NFL. Walter Payton was up there for me. As a kid, I remember watching him, just the way he moved on the field. And I like to think that, you know, I feel like there was a lot more about Walter than just football. Can you kind of talk about the man himself that was, you know, off the field too?
He was complicated. It's funny. The book came out, and I got a lot of grief, especially in Chicago, because he's an icon. He's a deity. And when you die young, especially, he was 46 when he died, your legacy, in a way, is sort of cemented in people's minds, and you can do no wrong. So, on the one hand, he was a really excellent guy, and he wanted to live up to what people thought of him. On the other hand, he was, he had an out-of-wedlock son he had nothing to do with. He was a serial cheater. You know, he suffered from really pretty severe depression too long ago for CTE to be checked, but I would not be shocked at all if he had some real sort of brain injuries, because he was severely depressed and erratic toward the end of his life. Really wonderful guy, and football beat the crap out of him and kind of spit him out a little bit. And what was left at the end of his life was a really wounded man.
Yeah, man. And again, these books are great. People, make sure you go to jeffpearlman.com and pick up all of these books. I know that sports is a passion for you and all that, and people can tell that in your books, but like, how do you kind of weigh in on like a project you want to write about?
I tend to write about what I want to write about. Like, I'm very into nostalgia. I love the history of sports. I love digging into guys I rooted for as a kid or teams I rooted for as a kid. The 86 Mets, I love the 86 Mets. If I love it, I'm going to assume there are other people out there who have similar interests. It's the only way I know how to go about it.
Nice, man. Thank you very much. And, of course, here at Life of Dad, we love talking about fatherhood. So for you, when you found out you were going to be a dad for the first time, what was going through your mind, sir?
Oh, man. See, what I remember most, finding out I was going to have a daughter. Because I remember vividly, we were in New York, and we went to the doctor, and we were going to find out the sex. And I came from a family of pretty much all men. I mean, I have a brother, I have an uncle, I have a dad. It's a small family, my mom. So when he said it was a girl, but I was pretty euphoric. I was just giddy about having a daughter. So for me, and having a daughter, I mean, I have a daughter and a son, and my daughter's my firstborn. And the one thing I always say, like, when you have a daughter, let her paint your nails, go to if this is what she's into, go to tea parties with her. If she's into sports, go to all her sports. Way too many dads I hear are unwilling to sort of bend their machismo in the name of having a daughter, and it drives me absolutely insane. Or if your son is into those things, do be with your kids and be what they want you to be.
No doubt. Yeah, I have two daughters, man. I feel you on that, Jeff, just because, like, when I found out, I was going to be a dad, and then I found out I was going to be a daughter, man, it rocked my world in the best way possible. And, yeah, you're talking about, like, tea or painting nails and all this stuff. One of the other guys in this, like, dad blogging world, his son likes to paint his nails, and even the Patriots, because he's up in New England, and Rob Gronkowski even sent a video to him and was like, hey, man, Sam, do you. So just for you to say that, too, just kind of has, just kind of seals the fact that, like, dad, just be there for your kids no matter what they're into, man. So I love that.
Well, I was going to say the other thing is also, you don't try to, I try hard not to bend my kids to my interests. Yeah. Sometimes I fail, sometimes I succeed. Like, your kids, you have to let them roll and develop who they're going to be, like, I can't stand my daughter's musical taste. I hate my daughter's musical taste. But I totally support her love of the Backstreet Boys, which is so weird, but, like, great, like, and my daughter's really into water polo. We live in California. She's very big into water polo. It's a sport I knew almost nothing about. But, man, I've become the biggest water polo fan because of my kid. Yeah. So just roll with it and see where they take you. They'll take you in really surprising places, I think.
No doubt, yeah. I mean, water polo to butterflies, man. My oldest, when she was like 3 or 4 years old, had a fascination, and we'd like go to butterfly museums. We'd get books on it, and I became a butterfly fan. And it's weird, like an almost 40-year-old man will like have a conversation with adults around the neighborhood, like, oh look, it's a tiger swallowtail, and everyone looks at me like, what are you all hyped up for? So, right. That, man. Talk about some of the core values you look to instill into your kids as they're growing up.
The number one thing. All right, so here's the number one lesson. For me personally, is, and I always repeat this to my kids, is, it's going to sound kind of corny. I always say, don't make someone else's life harder or more difficult because you exist. And what I always say is, like, nice. It sounds dumb, but it's like, you stay in a hotel, right? This is the smallest example. You go on vacation, you stay in a hotel, you're done in the hotel, take the soap in the shower and throw it out before you check out. Yes. Put the blanket on the bed, put your towels on top of the, whatever, like, don't make this person's life harder because you're in it. Clean up after yourself. Yes. Be polite, offer help. I think about the people I know who I haven't liked in my life. Like, I think about when I was covering baseball and Barry Bonds was playing for the Giants. And I always thought that was a guy who made life more difficult for other people on purpose. And I really want my kids to be the exact opposite. And I really try. I don't always succeed, but I really try. Just find a way to, I'm not saying you have to make someone else's life amazing, but definitely don't make it harder.
Yeah. No doubt, man. Great values you're instilling to your kids. Love that. 2 more questions before I hit you up with a Life of Dad quick 5. And I know you said, don't force your kids into your interests and all that stuff, but, it seems like, talking to you and like reading up on you, your family is into, sports and all that stuff. So talk a little about like the favorite sporting event you like to take the family to.
One thing, when we moved to Southern California 4 years ago, the wealth of college sports out here is insane. So in the 4 years we've been here, my daughter and my wife don't really care about going to sporting events that much. But my son and I have probably been to about 10 Angels games. But the thing we do that's really cool I like is we go to a ton of college sports. So we'll go to a Chapman University football game. We'll go to an Azusa Pacific football game. We've gone to UCLA basketball. We've gone to a lot of UC Irvine basketball, Long Beach State basketball. And the thing that's cool about it is we don't really care who wins. We don't care at all who wins and loses. So like third quarter, we're kind of bored. Well, you just leave. College sports are cheap enough. You can just leave. And the other thing I'll say,
yes,
like we went to an Angels game last week, and it was last week I guess it was Angels Rangers, and it was really boring. And everyone's talking about baseball being really boring. But the thing about baseball that's nice, I really believe, is like it's just time to sit and talk.
Yes.
So we sit and we talk and we eat, and then when we get bored, we'll move to a different seat, and then we'll try to get to a different seat. You try to sneak into the lower seats. You go to the highest seat in the stadium. Baseball is boring in and of itself. Like watching a game for 9 innings, especially for a 12-year-old boy, not that exciting. But the experience of the ballpark can be fantastic. And on StubHub, I mean, we get Angels tickets for about $6 a pop. So it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, that is like one of the biggest things for us. Like, we like make sure that we have time to sit together for dinner. No tablets, no phones. We're all just talking about our day. Like, and we'll make up then, and we'll do like questions like, "Hey, if you could have 3 people, fictional characters, have dinner with 3 fictional characters, who would they be?" And you have like these great conversations. So yeah, baseball may not be the most exciting, but you're having fun with your kids, and you're actually investing time with them, and those are the memories that they're gonna have. Then like, oh, I went to an Angels game. Like, no, I went to an Angels game with my dad, and we went to the highest seat possible, and then we tried to sneak down to the lower seats. That's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, and even if the truth of the matter is, even if they don't remember it, like just the very idea of sort of quiet and still time with your kids. And again, like you said, you're not staring at a screen. You're not being, you're not doing homework. You don't feel pressure. Just kind of relaxed time in a stadium with some sodas and some hot dogs. It's kind of good.
Yeah, pressure and homework, man. My fifth grader, I'm like, wait, what math? Like, how are you doing this one multiplication problem? Like, what? So
I've checked out. My kids are in 7th and 10th. It's over for me.
Oh, great. All right. So I got a little bit more struggling before 7th. All right. Last question before Life and Dad Quick 5. What is one big piece of advice you'd offer to new dads? I know you kind of gave a little bit of it, but like, what is one big piece of advice you'd offer to them?
All right. This is one I learned through experience. I feel like nobody wants to hear you brag about your kids, right? It's actually true. I swear to God, it's true. Nobody believes it. Like, nobody is going to be amazed that little Jimmy is now saying goo goo gaga, or no one cares that he bobs his head along to a Dr. Dre song. Like, I know it's cute for you, and that's awesome, and your parents will like it, and your wife or spouse will say that's great. People don't care. Like, they don't care. I learned this the hard way because I used to be the guy who'd be like, look at Casey, she's doing it, and people are like, yeah, okay. They just don't care. So embrace it and enjoy it and seize it for yourself. But nobody else gives a crap. I hate to say it, but it's really true. And it'll save you from people going home and not making dinner plans with you because they don't want to hear the 100 things you have to brag about your 2-year-old doing.
Oh, so true. Yeah, I think the only caveat to that is if like you're hanging out with your family or your friends and stuff, and all of a sudden they see that your baby do something cute, and they mention it, like, yeah, sometimes they do that, what blah blah blah, and that's the only time. So I agree with you, man.
Right. Thank you. It's harsh advice, but it's true.
No doubt. Life and Dad Quick 5. Favorite family movie right now in the Pearlman household is?
League of Their Own.
Oh, nice. There's no crying in baseball. Favorite song you guys like to sing and dance to as a family, or is there a band? I know you're talking about your daughter's music choices, how you're not really cool with them, but is there a band that you couldn't wait to introduce your kids at a certain age?
So when my daughter was little, I used to, I'm really into hip hop, and there's a song, it's really vile and totally inappropriate, but she was too little to know. So Ain't None But a G Thing by Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. I would literally, this is me doing exactly what I said I shouldn't do. I would walk up and down the steps with her, and I'd go 1, 2, 3 into the 4, Snoop Doggy Dogg, and she would go, Dr. Dre, and then like we'd go back and forth, and that kind of made when she was very little.
Oh, that's fantastic! Love it. Describe the perfect family vacation.
That's a good question. I mean, my kids are huge suckers for theme parks. Like my daughter's a huge roller coaster kid, but my wife gets motion sick. Let's say kind of like I don't have a good answer because we all have disparate tastes. It's actually a little annoying. We drove to Palm Springs 2 weekends ago, and it was really just great walking around the city, the town, and kind of just cruising around and anything that involves food. I guess that's what I'd say. My kids are really into food, and my wife's a foodie. Yeah. So anything that involves food and trying different things is really good.
Nice. I don't know. I know you stay on the West Coast, but if you ever make it back, have you ever gone to Hershey Park?
Oh yeah, and it's not my one of my worst great parenting moments was when my daughter was maybe 7. I got her to go on Fahrenheit, which is probably the scariest coaster at the park, and I bribed her first I said, I'll let you play a game and I'll buy you a soda. My kids are not allowed to drink soda. And she said, no, and she's crying. I said, 2 games, a soda, and an ice cream. No. 3 games, a soda, and ice cream. Okay. And we're on this roller coaster going up the hill. No, before we even get on, she's bawling. And a woman who works there was like, baby, are you okay? Do you want to get off? And she goes, no. And the thing starts going, and she's crying, and we're going up this vertical hill. She's like, Dad, I can't do this. And I'm like, oh, my God, I'm the worst dad ever. And then we start going speeding straight down the vertical. And she goes, this is the best thing ever. And I felt like the best dad ever. So Hershey Park.
I love it. The ups and downs of parenting right there. Love it.
Exactly.
Do you have a favorite athlete, or is that too cliche to ask a sports writer that?
I mean, growing up as a kid, my hero in sports was Ken Griffey Sr., not junior, but senior.
Yeah.
Mainly, I think, because he had a cool afro, and there was a baseball card where he wore his hat really cool. But I ended up being the kid who I started Ken Griffey Sr. fan club. He wasn't even senior then. When I was in high school, I was the president and only member of the Ken Griffey fan club at Mailback High School.
Nice, man. Love it. And lastly, is there like something that you can't wait to knock off your sports bucket list?
Interesting question. No, I don't really have one.
Okay.
I'm just going to be honest with you.
Right,
I don't. I've kind of had a pretty I've had a charmed life in sports. I don't. I'm pretty good.
Nice. People, make sure you follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff Pearlman. Go to his website, jeffpearlman.com. Pick up his great books, especially the one that just came out, Football for a Buck, The Crazy Rise and Crazier Demise of the USFL. Thanks again for chatting about fatherhood, man. Big fan, and continued success of everything you got going in the future, sir.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for listening to the Life of Dad show. You know where to find us, lifeofdad.com, and on Twitter and Facebook.
Noise you grew quite low.